Podcast where a bunch of random people just on the internet talk about D&D and give your opinions or give us our opinions on essentially what we like about the game and answer your questions. This week's topic is DM How Do, where we'll be essentially talking about how to DM and getting basically our experiences in getting started. I am Lao Feng Seo, and I'm joined by
Friendly Neighborhood DM.
All right. So yeah, there is that. I guess before we get started, Friendly, is there any announcements you want to get through before we get to the question?
As of this broadcast going live on YouTube, we are a week away from Dungeons and Flagons' next epic charity event. It is going to be on Friday, October 26th and Saturday, October 27th starting at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are running the Adventure League module or epic Reclamation of Flan. I feel like it's not supposed to be a dessert. But we are going to be, and we're going to be raffling off a lot of great prizes throughout the weekend. All of the proceeds for this going towards the Game Academy, an amazing organization that teaches kids real life skills and problem solving skills through D&D and other tabletop RPGs. We are so excited to be raising money for them. Last time we raised over $1,500. We have some great prizes that were donated to us by Kraken Dice, Elderwood Academy, Easy Roller Dice Co. We're giving away a character art drawing from Penflower Ink. We have exclusive Wizards of the Coast Feychens certificates that we will be giving away during that you guys can purchase unlimited amount. And the best thing about this entire thing is that you do not need to participate in the event nor even be present to win. All you have to do is give us either your Discord name or your email address, some way that we can contact you so you know that you won these amazing prizes. I think that's about it for announcements. So definitely keep an eye out. We're going to be tweeting this on our social media, and obviously always for the latest announcements that's going on in Dungeons and Flagons. Please stay tuned. Please check out our Discord channel over at www.dungeonsandflagons.org. All right, I think that's everything for announcements, Lau. Let's get into tonight's questions from our community.
All right, so I'll take the first one. The first question is from Zen Flavor, and they say, when you began to DM, what were some of the obstacles you faced and how did you overcome them? And a sub-question by Anonymous is, what is one good thing and one bad thing about being a DM and conversely a player?
Okay.
So, starting off, I guess, beginning
what were some of the ones that you faced as personal ones, or do you think that generic?
Yeah, basically stuff I've seen. In context, I started playing 5th edition D&D, which is when I got back into it, around August 2015.
Okay.
And I started DMing, or my first session of DMing was, I want to say, April 2016. So I had a couple months under my belt, and honestly, I started first DMing Adventure League, then I went to homebrew, which was a little nice, but the thing starting off that made it a little bit more difficult is, or I guess made it for me a little bit more difficult, was I realized I didn't need to prep as much as I was going to. I basically went from pre-written Adventure League modules that has text blurbs and things like that for
Mm-hmm.
like multiple people to read and understand. In my session 1, I like for my home game, I like wrote text blurbs, like things like that. I had everything kind of written
Yeah.
out, pseudo Adventures League, and then literally like 20 minutes, and I was like, they're not gonna follow any of this. So I kind of like, well, granted, we
You
had a
just
great
chucked it
time.
out.
No, look, no, I could get into the story. Maybe we have time at the end.
Yeah.
I don't want. Basically, it went from the scene in The Hobbit when they were fighting the goblins, and they're like, there's like all the dwarves, but they only have like 3 weapons,
Yeah.
and they're like that essentially happened to me on a pirate ship.
Okay.
That's basically what happened. It was amazing, but either way. But so I had the issue of I prepped too much,
Okay.
and I I prepped too much, and I focused on the wrong things.
Okay.
Essentially, I focused more on like who like characters and like what people are gonna say, and
Mm-hmm.
like basically try to predetermine things a little too much rather than just kind of letting things flow naturally.
All
Now
right.
when I DM, like I save all of my DM documents, like my session notes, and they're probably like just got less and less and less. Most of my session notes now that I've
Mm-hmm.
learned is the only thing I need to prep for personally for me is I need to prep like locations, like general like vibes and like stuff that's going
Mm-hmm.
on, maps in the sense of any map that I do not feel like I can come up with on the fly. For example, like actually physical like drawings and things like that. Actually, I'll
Yeah.
probably at some point I'll probably go and grab mine. Basically my notebook and things like that, and then anything like also like magic items and things like that because
Yeah.
and basically all that stuff I try to prep ahead of time because that's something I don't want to like leave up to improvisational because there have been a few times where I've like left that up to being improvised and like one encounter that I just improvised on the spot almost was a TPK because I didn't realize how powerful the creatures were. And I've
Uh-huh.
also there's been like a couple times where I've given out a magic item. I'm like, that's a lot more powerful than I thought it was gonna be. Because I thought I'm like, oh, it's like as a player, I'm like, oh, as a player, I totally would want this, but as a DM, I'm like, wait, my players should not have this. This is too good.
You magic carpeted them.
Uh, I rolled it on the magic item table in front of them, so and they also have a broom of flying too. That's not as big of an issue because they got the sports utility carpet and they use it
The
to transport
sports
goods.
the sports utility carpet. I
Yeah,
love
the
that.
30-foot carpet, the biggest carpet is 30 feet. It hasn't
Yeah.
been an issue. Basically, it just makes it so when they're overland travel, it's just they don't have to. It's a little bit harder for them to run into problems. But
I
they
can
actually have been
show
lately.
you the
Yeah,
world.
yeah, they've been using that. Sweet. But
Yeah.
speaking of which,
But yeah, no, I agree. I feel like when I started DMing, and I DM mostly Adventures League, so a lot of my stuff is still pre-written for me. But when I started DMing, I started doing modules, Adventures League modules, and
yeah,
then I branched out into the hardcover, and there is a lot of stuff that is pre-written for you, but there is also a lot of stuff that you need to make up on the fly. And I definitely agree with you. I think that location, NPCs, and and a couple other things are a little bit more important than being able to what's the word I'm looking for? Being able to, just be like, okay, you're going to be railroaded into doing the thing. I definitely learned that when I started DMing Storm King's Thunder, because there is an entire chapter that is a huge sandbox, and they could go wherever they want. And I actually thought that made me a better DM, being like, I don't like they were pretty good about it. They gave me a roadmap. Like they're like, we're gonna travel in this general direction, so I could kind of look up the cities in the book and kind of have an idea of what I wanted to do, but I wasn't bound by anything.
yeah,
So that was definitely so. I think for new DMs, especially when you're in the early stages of DMing, when it comes to, I guess, character or not character, but world prep, the most important things are definitely NPCs, a little bit of world building, but everything else can pretty much just be left up. At least for me, the other biggest obstacle that I came over was, and actually online really helped me because I wasn't sitting at a table. I'm incredibly shy. I know it doesn't seem like it because I'm sitting here on camera talking about D&D, but this is utterly terrifying for me. Just an FYI, I don't know what to do with the hands. I got this mic in front of my face that I'm trying not to look at constantly. And then I'm also just trying not to do like scratching yourself randomly or like fixing and all that kind of stuff. So the biggest thing with me was I'm an incredibly shy person. I like to call myself an extroverted introvert, meaning that if I'm around a group of people that I know, I'm fine. But if I am in a group of strangers, there is zero talking, there is zero nothing, and I am that person. So online DMing really helped me with that because there was that degree of separation between me and my players. Nobody saw my face. I was allowed to give a little bit of anonymity to myself, which I'm slowly losing, and have to be okay with that because people will figure out where when you get on camera, people figure things out. So
basically,
so basically for me, the biggest thing, like socially, was legitimately just being okay doing it.
Yeah, and it just kind of it's the bit is a lot of people feel like DMing is scary. They're like, oh, I can't, no, I could never DM and things like that. It's kind of like, and I'd say DMing is kind of like I feel like a lot of people have it in the same mentality as a lot of people like starting off artists in the sense of I've seen this person do it. I could never do that.
Or you could never do it as good as that person.
And it's the big. What I think I mentioned in a previous episode is every single DM was new at some point. Some people, they're naturally better at it. A lot of people I know, they're pretty outgoing and sociable. I'm like, oh, they would probably make a good DM. And some people that pretty a little bit shyer, I kind of had to push them along to become a little bit more DM. But
I will say having a DM mentor definitely helps.
Oh yeah, so basically starting off, like if you guys can find someone who can mentor you, if you play an Adventures League, especially if you maybe play like in person. Basically, what happened with me is my Adventures League DM. I told him like, hey, I kind of want to start DMing, and he's like, all right, I've been thinking about doing this like DM training program. So he's like, basically, I was like,
you were the guinea pig.
Yeah, I was the guinea pig, and according to him, he's like, yeah, it was successful because according to him, I'm one of his favorite DMs ever.
That's good.
And I'm like, really? But it's so be okay with find your style. Everyone has a certain style. Granted, you do bar stuff. Like I bar stuff in Matt Mercer all the time. Specifically, I bar like how do you want to do this and like describe it. However, in my games now, rather than saying a lot of times like, how do you want to do this, I literally look at the players, I write some stuff down, and I just go. And people who play with me just get that look and they're like, oh, and everyone's like, what's going on? He's like, they killed him. He's like, how do you know? He's like, because he did the thing.
And
he
did the thing. You made your own thing that tells people.
Yeah, I basically made my thing, and so it's everyone just like everyone's gonna be you're always gonna be bad at something, you're always gonna be good at something. I'd say work on the stuff you're bad at, and basically continue to improve the stuff you're good at. And basically, there's a lot of ways to do that, which we can get into, but I want to maybe wait till a little bit later before talking about. I want to kind of get to the sub question, which was what is one good thing and one bad thing about being a DM, and I assume then conversely a player. So one good thing about being a player, one bad thing about a player. The best thing for me, the best thing for me about being a DM is bringing joy to people, like basically bringing people into the game. My home game, starting off, it was a group of like I want to say like 6 or 7 people. Honestly, can't. It's one of those like we had people drop in, drop out really early on. 6 or 7 people, and only like 2 of them had ever played D&D before. and
Okay.
I introduced them to it. And that game started off, it was in 2016. It has been over 2 years since,
Mhm.
granted, like people have come out, but the core people, there's basically, we only have
Mhm.
two of the original players still there. And but it's, the group is there, and I introduced a lot of these people into the game. And it's like having that feeling
Mhm.
of like, I'm, when the people have that like look on their face of joy and happiness, and like, joy, that's the best thing for me about being a DM. Is just like,
Okay. Yeah, I
doing
get
that.
that.
However, the bad thing about being a DM, and my basically kind of what I can say for bad is, you spend a lot more time in the game or doing the game than players do. Like
Okay.
if I'm running potentially like an 8 hour session, I'm prepping like 8 hours at least. So I'm spending for me almost double, and that's also prepping in the sense of prepping the session itself and prepping future things and also
Mhm.
research. And I spend basically almost double time just getting the session ready. So for me, I do look forward to it, but it can be bad in the sense I'm like, I have to spend more time. Well, some people, everyone else just kind of shows up and then
Mhm.
doing that for them. I personally like it, but I don't know. I guess, Friendly, what is the one good thing and one bad thing you have about being a DM?
My one good thing is just being able to provide games for players. Like I guess because it comes from the fact that I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have a 2-year-old, and they keep me incredibly busy. So being able to make sure that players who are in my position, I mean, they may not be stay-at-home parents, but they may not have access to a local game store. They may not have access or money to go to cons. They may just not be able to get out of the house for whatever reason. Being able to provide them games online and provide that service for them, knowing myself at least a small bit of what that feels like, even though I have local game stores that I can go to, really makes me feel makes it just make gives me a warm and fuzzy being able to spread the love.
Yeah.
One bad thing about being a DM, and I akin this to you're always the bridesmaid, never the bride. You're
Yeah.
always the DM, never the player. So
Yeah.
I DM, my player to DM ratio currently stands at 75% DM, 25% player.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. Since the granted having do most I DM a lot of AL.
Yeah.
Let's see, season 8 started August 31st.
Yep.
Since then, this recording is happening at the beginning of October.
Hmm.
I have only played once, I
I've
think,
played twice, I
since then,
think.
and I DM on a weekly to bi-weekly. No, sorry, I've played 3 times. Sorry, I forgot about home games. I played about 3 times,
Yep.
but only one of them was like Adventures League. Everything else is just
Yeah.
IDM. Well, like I'm fine with there. There's certain adventures I prefer to DM over playing,
Oh
but
yeah.
that's beside the point. But I guess the next thing, I guess, going to think conversely, what's the good thing about being a bad thing about being a player? Good thing about being a player, you get to play a game with your friends for the most part. Either friends
Hmm.
you make online, or friends you have in person, or people you develop friendships with, and you just kind of escape, kind of hang out with them for a bit, and just kind of mess around.
Yep.
The bad thing for me about being a player is, as a player, you don't really get to play. Basically, as a player, you probably want to play a lot, but the thing is, you're reliant on a DM to play.
Yep.
Um, I know a lot. I think there's probably more players than DMs out there, but I know a lot of people like, "Hey, I want to play." And I'm like, sometimes I'm like, "Oh, I kind of want to play too." And I'm like, "Hey, are we playing this week?" And they're like, "Oh, no, I'm busy this week." I'm like, "Okay, that's nice." I kind of really was like, really looking forward to playing this
Yeah, I
weekend
get
or
that.
something
I
like that.
understand that.
Yeah, and it's just can kind of stink. And also, if like sometimes you kind of find a game because it's like the only game you can really find, but unfortunately, it's not really a story you want to be a part of. And as a player, you can influence the story, but the
Hmm.
thing is, you're a part of a group, and so the story is what the group makes of it. And sometimes the group isn't exactly what you want to do. Like in one of
Hmm.
my current games, I am a pacifist, and everyone else is murder hobos.
You're the
And
conscience.
yeah, I'm the conscience of the party, which is I say it's been interesting, but I can see I can see how if I wasn't playing with the people I was currently playing with,
Yeah.
that I could get extremely annoyed and just not want to play anymore.
Oh yeah, no, I get you. I mean, that makes 110% sense to me.
Yeah.
Conversely, for me at least, one good thing and one bad thing about being a player. For me, I definitely, uh, I definitely, um, uh, let's see. For a good thing is, being able to play fun, quirky characters that are not me. And then by conversely, exploring aspects of myself that I didn't even know were present. Because I don't know, I feel like you get to play off different aspects of yourself when you play characters.
Yeah.
The bad thing is kind of what you touched on a little bit, at least for me, is it's not so much finding the group, having trouble with that, mainly because I'm a part of an online server that hosts games daily.
Dungeons and Flagons.
So yeah, Dungeons and Flagons. It is it has at least one game going every day. We've been a little bit slow just because of the season 8 stuff. People getting used to the rules, and also school starting back up. So it's been a little bit slower than normal, but we're picking back steam up, which is great. But it's not so much that, because I have the online resource. It's getting stuck in a game that there's two bad games in my opinion. There's a bad game where you have that player at your table.
I've had that player.
And you are the player, and you can't do anything about them unless the DM does.
Yeah.
That is one of my pet peeves. The second part, I guess mine's a two-parter, is also having that DM, which, and by that DM, it either quantifies into they are a murder hobo DM, which they just set out to kill their players, or they don't give a shit and put zero effort into what they're doing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kind of went off on like very multiple things, but those definitely are like ranked so close together that I can't pick one.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough decision, but it's like, when in doubt, it's like I always say, if the group you don't like your group, there's always another group out there.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
not necessarily a person, but you're gonna always find it out. So I think we can kind of end this question a little bit, but yeah, it's just like obstacles that, like I said, I face is over prep and
overcoming the shyness.
Yeah, and being too worried about people aren't gonna like me because they watch like Critical Role. Honestly, DMs. Players are just happy you're running the game.
Yeah,
like, they don't care.
Yeah, they don't want a Matt Mercer. They just want a DM.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, it's great if you are a Matt Mercer, but you don't have to be a Matt Mercer for them to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, but I guess we'll go to the next question. Friendly, you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. This is also from Anonymous. How much prep goes into preparing a homebrew session versus a session that comes from a hardcover or modules? So I don't really have a lot of experience with homebrew. Lau, I am strictly a ALDM, so my input on this question is going to be pretty much zero. So I'm gonna just let you take this one and go with it, because I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, more prep goes into homebrew. Short answer. Long answer. When you run, I've never technically run a hardcover. I've run the first chapter of Storm King's Thunder and the first chapter of Tales of the Yawning Portal.
Okay.
But for running out of books and modules, it's just reading. It's you just gotta look and read and like that. And honestly, a lot of times when I prep a new module, I just kind of skim it. And because there's certain sections, especially like read aloud text, I would just kind of like meh that, because they usually kind of explain what it is beforehand and afterwards. I try to skim through that. And so reading like going through like a 4-hour module for Adventures League for the most part is going to take me maybe like 2 hours for the most part, and a lot of it's just figuring like, okay, what are like the weird combating mechanics type situations? Like I don't know, if it's just personally me. Like what was it? Drums of the Dead, the season 7 epic.
Yep.
I was actually playing in that. I was planning to play into tier 3. They had too many tier 4 characters, and they said, "Hey, do you mind running tier 4 table?" I'm like, I haven't read the module, and they're like, we kind of needed a DM to do tier 4 table, so I ran a 3-hour tier 4 average party level 18
Oh,
module
jeez.
at last minute. It was fine because they were like, I'm like, you guys are just doing combat, right? And they're like, yes. I'm like, okay, I could just run combat. I'll just read a page. I'm good.
Yeah.
But so doing that, it's reading. So the big thing about this, it doesn't take as much to. I'm not saying it takes less time to prep a module. It's different because the stuff is already there. You don't have to figure anything out. You just got to read and like, okay, how I'm gonna handle this situation.
Yep.
Prepping a homebrew, I say that takes longer because a lot of times you go for like, okay, where's the party going? What is the next story? Basically, I potentially got to draw maps. I got to design encounters. I got to, like for lately with my past couple sessions, my homebrew, I'm like, they can literally kind of go anywhere on my continent, and I have to figure out a way to do that. So I basically am spending the last couple sessions like figuring. I'm like, okay, if they go here, they can deal with this. If they go here, they can deal with this, and just kind of generalizing it. So
It's
and I
like
figured
little
that
like spider web threads, basically.
basically is how much I go into prepping that. And for
And
me,
the
it's a
more
little
I'm assuming the more they tug on the thread, the more you flesh it out.
yeah, and kind of something I can definitely do. And the big thing that also helps a little bit of prepping, the bit I like about homebrew at least is I borrow heavily from other sources. There's an entire campaign arc that I had, which was their level 4 to level 5 jump. I basically stole an entire quest from Fable, The Lost Chapters, where they basically
Okay.
infiltrated a bandit camp, and I stole it in the sense of I'm like the same idea in this like the distinct 3 locations, but everything inside of it I kind of reworked to be myself, and that's actually what I kind of goes into prepping sometimes. If I basically I decide, do I want to borrow from something that I've played in or played basically a video game or a movie,
Yeah.
or do I have to come up with my own? I've done a little bit of both. Uh, Sometimes, and DMs don't be afraid of borrowing from other sources. A lot of times, the player's like, "Oh, it's like that thing," and if you put a twist on it, they're like, "Oh, I wasn't like." They're expecting something they weren't expecting. Like, oh, like I actually ran I played on a one shot where the DM ran the first the Undead Asylum in Dark Souls, and which is
Okay.
the tutorial area. And he ran that, and we all of us who were playing had to play Dark Souls heavily, and we're like, oh, we enjoyed it a crazy amount because one, we were playing it, we like knew the terrain, but he switched up the fights enough to make a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So like that's I could say it's like I said, definitely prep more for homebrew.
Yeah.
But with homebrew, you get to be a little bit more flexible and all that, and it's like, it is more time, but you also are using your own story. Granted, you could also just be using a book and just changing it where you see fit. Honestly, too, like
Yeah.
it's like hardcovers. Like if you're just going to take it at face value, it's pretty. I say easy in the sense of you don't have to really come up with a crazy amount. But if you're just using it as a basis, like a rule, like
Like
this is
a
setting book.
springboard.
Yeah, if you're using like a springboard, then it could be a little bit more. Basically, it depends. How much goes into it is how much you're making up on your own. Some people
Okay.
are really
Yeah,
good
that
at
makes
writing and making
sense.
stuff up of their own. But other people are just like me. I just kind of like to wing it for a lot of the times.
Winging
But
it's not bad though.
yeah,
Sometimes the best experiences can come from winging it.
okay, but yeah. So that's honestly that's all I really have to put on that.
I really have nothing because my homebrew experience, I've only ever played in homebrew. I've never DM'd it, so my experience with that is pretty much goose egg.
Okay, so I
So
guess
last question, yeah.
I'll take that. So
Yeah.
Anonymous asks, or basically, asks, Dwarven Forge comes out with a lot of cool terrain and set pieces that enhance the gaming experience. You can also 3D print a lot of stuff yourself these days with a decent printer. How necessary do you think it is for your players, or do you think that a drawn out map will do just fine? So I kind of interpreted this question of
Mm-hmm.
for those of the people who don't want to do necessarily do theater of mind, maybe have like more like physical things.
Yep.
How much do you need to like effort and money you need to put into it? I would say it depends on the experience. Like Dwarven Forge, I don't personally own any, but I've played in games with it, and having it's pretty cool. Like, especially, I think they're designed well enough you can create multiple things, and if you're willing to drop like a decent amount of money, you can basically have forever make dungeons, and you can prep them in. Especially, I don't know if you guys watch Critical Role, especially season 2. Literally, whenever Matt brings out a map, everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's so awesome!" And that
Yeah,
moment is
it
really
is
cool.
pretty
And
cool.
it looks really cool and it's super satisfying to have that moment of like the players like,
Yeah.
holy crap, I didn't that's pretty awesome. For drawing out can work. Like don't worry about like I don't have all these cool things because like if you just have literally just have like if you buy like a grid, like a basically like a normal grid for that like basically what erase type situation, drawing on that real quick, that should be fine. If you pre-draw, basically the more time you spend into prepping with
Yeah.
drawing, the better it's going to look for the most part, which players might appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, speaking of which, give me a second. I gotta show you. I gotta pull out something real fast.
Okay, I will continue to talk about things. So for me at least, as a
So I don't know
D.
this,
Oh, yep,
but yeah.
you got it.
Speaking of drawn maps, actually, I was
Oh,
DMing. I was starting the DM a Lost Mines and Fendelver game,
okay.
and however, it didn't go more than one session, unfortunately. But I think it was going to go more than one session. I pre-drew the map for the Goblin Hideout, and for me,
Ooh.
so like I drew it out, and
Holy, that's pretty detailed.
yeah, for me, and how I did this, for those people like, oh my god, I'm an amazing drawer. I'm not an amazing drawer. Basically, what I did is I found the map online, and I'll stop wrinkling it so audio is decent.
It's
I found
okay.
it online. I have a TV that I can basically just a pretty standard TV. I plug in my computer, put it on a table, this is gaming paper from gamingpaper.com. That is just it's
Hmm.
also wet erase. But I just put a paper on it and just drew. I just drew it out and just
Okay.
and occasionally I would be like, okay, there's a little bit of detail here, a little bit of detail here, and I did that. And I haven't shown this to anybody basically, but having that, I'm like, oh, it's good to go and like pre-drawing is pretty, and like that looks pretty decent for a hand drawn map.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's pretty
to
good.
to show crappy map. This map is what I'm about to show you. It was the final map for the final boss for book 1 of my campaign. Yeah,
Hey, that's
it,
not bad.
it's basic, and on the other side, even though you guys will not be able to read my handwriting, it's just notes. So this
Ah,
for me is I wasn't planning on drawing any rooms outside of this room right here for my players. So
but
I
of
just
course,
drew.
as players do, they explore.
Yeah, I think it's on the next page. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, and it's one is a players explore, and I basically drew it out the maps when basically they asked.
Ah,
Uh,
okay.
and so there's all that. So I'm basically like I actually have a lot of my physical props here. So it's you don't
Yeah.
have to spend a lot of money to
I
make certain things. Like
I
for
have a
example,
hack. I have a hack too. You continue talking. I'll be right back.
okay. So yeah, for some of you, like also like for example, like miniatures. I personally paint some of my own miniatures. I have varying degrees of like how effective they are, but I know miniatures expensive and everyone wants to paint, but some people want to have physical things. One thing I suggest you do, if you have access to a printer or like access to a printer, or it doesn't even have to be color, is I do this a lot where I basically find an image of the creature I want to use. So
Mm-hmm.
this is an what is it? I'm blanking on that. This is an
Whoop.
ochre jelly. So basically, this is a 2-inch by 2-inch square with about a 1.5-inch like rectangle underneath it. And I
Mm-hmm.
basically the idea is I cut these out and then I fold them to kind of make triangles. And now I have miniatures that I can use for my games. And
Are they cardstock?
this is specific a cardstock because I like
Mm-hmm.
printing stuff on cardstock. But if you don't print on cardstock, it's actually fine itself.
So
I printed cardstock for durability.
so
But no,
this
yeah, you
is yeah. So this is my hack.
okay.
For people who really want to go on the cheap, this is also incredibly disposable. But well, we all know Christmas is eventually coming up.
Yes.
Christmas is I mean, it's a couple months away. But this is my hack. This is wrapping paper.
Oh, yeah, doesn't wrapping paper have 1-inch grids on the back of it?
So recently, because people can't can't cut worth a damn. Most companies now do this, and I'm gonna.
A little light.
Yeah, it's a little light, but I
Yeah,
swear to God,
there's a grid on it, right?
on the back of this, there is a grid, and it is a 1 inch by 1 inch grid that is on the back of this wrapping paper.
Yeah.
And it is, again, it is disposable. It is, although if you do Adventures League modules, you can certainly save these for later use if you're going to run the module again.
But yeah, it's like you don't have to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, granted, I've spent a little bit of money on certain things.
That's a $1 roll of wrapping paper.
Yeah. Also,
And
speaking of cheapness, actually, speaking of me stealing things from games, I was playing Dragon Age Inquisition, and they have these star puzzles where you basically got to connect lines. So, for one of my games, I found a piece of wood.
Challenges.
I got a whole bunch of nails, and I bought some string. And the idea, I'm like, oh, they basically I printed out an image, and like, okay, make that image with this. So literally, this is a scrap piece of wood and just a bunch of nails.
Yeah.
And I just tied it in. This was about a year ago, and this thing is like, basically awesome. Is basically super awesome. But like I said, you don't have to spend money to impress your players. But sometimes if something looks nice, oh, it looks nice. Speaking of that, my roommate, who's one of my players, loved this. So I went on Amazon and ordered this box.
Is it a Mimic?
Box,
no, it's not a Mimic.
It's
Mimic.
It's a deck of many things. Specifically, the one Matt Mercer has, which for people who are interested, remind me friendly, and I'll put where I got these down in the description. I want to say this is maybe somewhere between $20 and $40. Honestly, don't remember.
Is that the actual Critical Role one that they released with theirs?
No, this is not the official Critical Role one. This is the one that Matt Mercer used in game. Basically, where's I have my wallet on here. I think I still have that person's business card. No, that's like local game store. It's Tobias Viscere. It's one of those. Like I said, you probably can't. Yeah, I don't know how to sweep it out.
We'll put it in the description. We'll have all the information.
I spent a little bit of money on this, and the reason I did is because I like the deck of many things, and I potentially plan on using in the future in future games. And I splurged on this because having that physical thing is pretty cool. But even if you don't want to spend money on a deck of many things, or you don't want to spend money on like special stuff, like cards, bicycle, like basically these are just simple cards. And when in doubt, you could always like do other, like basically use them for something else. Like say if you want like NPC cards, get a deck of card, get paper. And then or get paper or just write stuff on this and just like with a Sharpie or do just random things.
Another hack that I have that I actually just recently learned was beer bottle caps.
Oh yeah, beer bottle caps are about like a little over an inch in diameter, which is perfect for players.
But for NPC minis, all you have to do is literally write on top with a Sharpie, Goblin 1,
Yeah.
And I mean not just beer bottle caps, but also just
anything that is circular.
Yeah, anything that is circular that is an inch diameter. We actually have these tokens from our local zoo that you're supposed to donate to the animal research fund thing, and we just keep forgetting them because we have a 2-year-old, and by the time we're ready to leave, that is not something she wants to participate in. So more often than not, we take them home with us. but they are perfect 1-inch circles that, again, perfect for just generic NPCs if you don't have enough of something.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's the big thing for those of you who are looking to like splurging on something for D&D. Focus on your players. You don't want to spend like a crazy amount of money on like this super awesome Red Dragon mini and use it for a single combat.